we've talked with a slew of people, and one of the consistencies we talked with this guy Gary Brackett, who lost his dad to a heart attack, his mom to a stroke, and his brother to cancer, right when he got to the NFL. So,
oh my God,
from hitting a rock bottom and then realizing like the recovery after that, like every step that he took past that didn't seem so heavy. Chris, when we talked with him, we talked about a lot about the recovery that happens after like working your ass off to hit this dream, and then he hit a wall. Like he couldn't get over that wall to make the dream of becoming an Olympic athlete come true. So talk a little bit. I want to start later on, like recovery now. Like as you reflect back on everything that you've accomplished in your career, which is dreams for so many people. Like as you reflect back, what has recovery been post hitting such a high level of success?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like throughout my career there were different times of recovery. But I basically retired without, it wasn't my own free will. You know, I had the blood clot. I tried to work through it. It didn't work. And then I couldn't really make a comeback to win an Olympic gold medal. And so it's one of those things, I feel like you're in it and you think you're fine. And then when you look back, you're like, I was not fine. Like, it's almost like you're going through a breakup of 20 years and you're depressed, but you don't realize you're depressed. And it doesn't matter, you know, if your husband, if your family is sitting there being like, you're not okay. You kind of have to come to the realization and just work through it.
Right.
And for me, that was, you know, I thought I was going to be a dietitian. I went down that road, not what I wanted to do. And then, you know, a lot of crying, a lot of kind of fighting my way through, you know, an entry-level job where I just didn't feel valued. And so for me, I think it's just like having to go, like the worst part about it is you just have to go through it. There's no like easy magic pill out of it. There's no quick fix. It's just time, which is painful.
Is it stressful to think back on that, or has your life changed where you use it as fuel now?
Yeah, I think I use it as fuel, and I think that's something that I've kind of already learned to do through swimming. Like there were so many, like there were highs, but there were a lot of lows with it throughout my career, and it was something that I just felt like, you know, I'd get knocked down, and then I would just have this, you know, relentless kind of feeling where it was like, well, no, there's not even an option to just stop or quit, or so I need to sit here and figure out a way to climb out of this. And that's kind of how I felt when I retired. It was just a different way. I had to learn a different way of climbing out of it because in swimming, it's like, okay, well, like, let's go back to the drawing board with training. Let's find a new passion, you know, with this stroke. And then in like the real world, it's like, well, what does that look like? Because it's like a jungle out there comparatively.
So I would imagine dealing with a blood clot, having I mean, life ends up dictating the end of that, at least that part, first part of your career. Is it almost if there's three buckets, you have your gut and how your body feels. You have your heart, which is what you really want to do, and then your brain, which is like trying to make sense of it all. Is that part of the complexity of knowing when it's time to stop, that you're battling those three areas?
Definitely. I mean, I think for like, it was to the point where I remember looking at my coach and I was like, you're going to have to tell me to get out of the pool because I mentally, I just want to keep going. I was making a great comeback and I felt super strong, but physically I couldn't breathe. And so I had to really come to the conclusion that, okay, it's going to be okay. Like it's fine to close this chapter. And I knew it was right because I announced my retirement and I felt like this flood of relief. And I was terrified that I was going to feel the opposite.
Yeah.
And it was very freeing because it was like, okay, I'm closing this chapter. It's okay. I didn't quit. This is just what needs to happen. But you know, your whole entire career, everything you do, if you stop, if you know, feel like you've backed off, you immediately think, oh, something's wrong with me. Like it's me. I quit. When you can't overcome a blood clot, you know. So
do you feel like life or society almost sets you up for that? Like if you're not whatever an Olympic gold medalist, that it sets the bar so high that anything less is failure? Is that society talent, or is that sports? Is it the media that sets that up and that drives you, or is it something that's bigger than that?
I think it's a combination. I mean, I think from a very young age, I was just demanded perfection, and I would accomplish one goal, and then it would be like, okay, next step, what's next? And that's still how I am. But yes, it's definitely the media. It's definitely, we're all about being number one, right? And if you get a silver medal or you fail, then it's very much not okay, in my opinion. Or people are asking what happened. I won a silver medal, and the next question was, oh, are you okay? What happened? Not like, congrats, you won a
Right.
Olympic silver medal. And that took me a long time to get over. It took me a really long time to be proud to show my medals, because I felt like, I didn't win a gold, so that must not be good enough. I know. And it's
That's crazy.
Sounds crazy, but that is, I think, the mentality of any high level athlete, or anyone who's an elite person, like
Right.
you yourself, anyone who's striving to be the best in what they're doing,
Right.
that's the mentality that they have. And I think it's a positive, but it also can be a negative because you're always just hammering yourself.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that you put yourself in shoes of, say, a kid that's deciding that professional athlete is what they want to be, and let's call it an Olympian athlete or Olympic athlete. You say silver medal, they're like, man, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
But when you get up there, it's like it's probably because of how much training and blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it, and the way that people react, like, oh, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like it makes you ashamed to get silver, but you represented a country in the Olympics and won a medal.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And it would, I think it's obviously the people that get it, the people understand, obviously value, wow, you're second in the world in that moment. That's amazing. But I think what you're saying is true. You put every single ounce of yourself. Winning an Olympic gold medal is just as important as, sleeping and eating and breathing. It's everything to you. So that when you don't accomplish that, you've put yourself in such a vulnerable position that it's a really long fall back to the bottom.
But the mentality and there's athletes have a component of them that drives them to a new level, and we can get into that. Then you have just the pure mentality or the conviction to stay committed to something that is not easy. Like you're trying to be the best athlete in the world, so you have to have that intangible there too. But so swimming aside, it doesn't leave you. So now you're applying it to your life in a different way.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that was the biggest struggle for me, is just like it took me, 15 years to become an Olympian and the best in the world. Like at that point, I needed to start over. And for me, I guess I could have gone the direction of, staying in coaching, which is what some people choose to do. But for me, I had this need to feel defined in a way that was not Katie the swimmer. It was Katie the person. Just what went on in my career and the blood clot. I just wanted that kind of really distinct separation. But what that meant was, very humbling, coming into, a new world, a new corporate world, and putting in a resume and getting hired at an entry-level job, when suddenly I'm going from, I was trying to be the best in the world, and now I'm starting over, which was excruciating.
So internally you have some pain that you're trying to understand it, right? When you're starting back over. But you also have the mentality that, all right, fine, put me back at the bottom, watch me get back up to the top, right?
Oh, yes. I mean, I still have that same, and I think that's why it's hard, because that takes, with swimming, it's like, okay, I'm going to put in this type of work, and I'm taking this process, and I kind of have a roadmap.
Yeah.
In the corporate world, there's some, a lot of it is out of your control. There's a lot of patience involved. There's a lot of
bullshit.
Yeah. You said it.
I said
but a lot of things that are just, like you could be doing the best job possible and exceeding expectations and doing everything. Like, give me feedback. What can I do better? Nothing. Okay, so then next step.
Right.
But that's not how it works.
No.
But at the same time, that's something that you just kind of have to, if that's, if you want to be in the corporate world, you have to accept that. But then it's like, okay, let me, use my abilities to try to maneuver my way back up to the top.
And it probably helps you in those stressful moments too, because at the end of the day, everybody has to rely on themselves to
Yes.
help guide them to
Yes.
that's at the end of the day, that's all you got is yourself. So
Yeah.
your experiences that are inside you help you combat any stressful moments that could happen in the corporate world, and call that's the blessing in disguise that you learn some of those things from swimming.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that's helped me a lot in, being able to understand what's happening and, either take a step back or just, be able to kind of fight through it and
Right.
not quit. And, have that. I think being impatient is a blessing and a curse in all walks of life.
Sure.
So it makes it very hard. But at the same time, I don't think I would want to be ever satisfied, because that's not what's gotten me to where I've been so far in my life.
So go back to swimming for a sec. So the intangible. We were talking to a client of ours, good friend, and he made it to the major leagues. He was drafted by the Giants, and we talked about like what was the difference for him, because he needed to figure out a way, how do I throw a baseball basically 5 miles more per hour than everybody else so that I could actually be drafted. So it's interesting because when we start diving into his story, he talks about pain from having rough parents, like that pain that was in him. Like if he really reflects back on it, that motivated him to throw it a little bit harder than everyone else. You obviously need the natural gifted talents as an athlete or a world-class athlete. For you, what was that in the pool? What was driving you to be, because you were better than 99.999% of humans. What was driving you behind that?
I think for me, it was just the feeling that I got from being the best, from touching the wall first. And it was funny because I didn't start out like that. When I was 5, 6, 7, all I cared about was getting a pink and purple ribbon. So it's something that I feel like it's good, because so many parents ask, well, like, what do you do? Were you born like that? Like, no. I just think it developed because I loved the sport. I'll take that back. I loved winning. Like, swimming was something I was good at, so it worked, but I think any sport would have been like that. Could have been anything. I just had that competitive drive where I was walking up to kids and being like, what's your time? Here's my time. And just being so annoying. But I was so competitive, and my poor brother, and it just really developed in me where I just got this immediate rush from being the best. And I quickly figured out that if I could figure out how to train harder than anybody and push myself to that extra gear that a lot of my teammates weren't getting there. I mean, it's a lot more painful, but I was willing to go there because I started seeing results from it.
So the touch of the wall, or being able to touch the wall first, when now it comes outside of swim meets or aggressive competition, was that driving you even at practice, that push for just that to get back to the place where you knew what it felt like to touch the wall first?
You're saying when in swimming?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I almost feel like anyone who has reached that level of success has not something wrong with them, but like something a little bit of like a screw loose, because I was, in the water for 10,000 yards at a time. No one was telling me that. I wasn't the type of person where like a coach had to scream at me or anything. Like, I was going to drive my head through the wall if it meant like I was going to get a best time, or if I was going to complete the set and, get a better time than I did even the week before. It was just like this like feeling inside where I could not leave anything on the table, because then all I could think about was, okay, what if I'm on the blocks and I look back and I'm like, well, I didn't push myself to 150% each time. Like, that was always in my mind, of kind of never looking back and having regret. And if I didn't, really exercise that in this moment, then, like that feeling of guilt almost and regret was going to fill me for the rest of my life.
So when you're forced to retire because of a blood clot, are you even the night before, as you're going through probably every emotion possible to come to the conclusion?
Oh yeah.
Are you battling the same thing? Like, do you feel like you're?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think I kept saying that, like, okay, if I. And that's why, I had the blood clot, and then I tried for another 8 months, and it was just 8 months of horrible practices, becoming out of breath, and just not getting to the times where I knew I needed to be to make another Olympic team. And I finally was like, okay, if it was fast forward 10 years, if I look back, am I going to be like, I regret that I didn't? And the answer was no, because the whole point of me making a comeback was I wanted to be able to really enjoy the process, go to Olympic trials, go to Olympic Games, and be like, wow, this is fun, which I hadn't experienced in my other Olympic Games because they were
That's interesting.
super stressful. And so that was my goal this time. And I said, okay, so training out of breath all the time, coming home crying, like that's not what I came back to do. So I need to stop now so that I don't end my career not doing what I set out to do.
All right, so that's interesting because you hear of, call it people that are older than you and I, far older, that are reaching retirement age in professional sports, and you hear the advice that comes back to them is find a way to enjoy the moment. So it like life forced you to find a way to enjoy the moment, to reflect, or to look around and the saying smell the roses. Like you were actually able to do it. So that's silver lining too.
It is silver lining, and that's something I was like when I made my comeback for Rio in 2016. That was my entire goal. Like I was like, I just want to enjoy the practices. Obviously, there's times you won't, but enjoy what I'm doing so that no matter what happens, I can feel like I hung my hat, hung up my suit in a really positive way. And I really had been. That year and a half prior, I was swimming close to best times. I loved my relationship with my coach at the time, my teammates. I really was enjoying that process, which I could not say that for times in the past. So it was like a little silver lining. Obviously, I wish that it could have ended where I was, standing in a ready room at Olympic Games doing that. But, I did get a little bit out of it.
If you look back on even previous moments to that, do you wish you would have reflected like that earlier in your career?
I mean,
or could
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know if I had the maturity or probably the maturity. Just like I've always been the type of person, you see the athletes, they're like waving and smiling, like that was not me. Like I was just very like tightly strung. I got very nervous. Like when I was 13, I threw up behind the blocks because I was so nervous. So when I tried to kind of do that and get, meditation and all that, it just didn't work. So for me, so many people came up after 2008 and oh my God, you just swam 5 events at the Olympics. Was that so fun? And I would lie for a long time and be like, oh my God, a blast. But now I'm like very honest about it. No, it was the most stressful 9 days of my life. I didn't sit there for a second because I was so focused on winning gold, winning gold, that I wouldn't be in the ready room. Like, God, like I'm representing Team USA. Like this is a blessing. I was just like a ball of stress. So, it's the biggest advice I give, young kids. But again, like I think it's a very unique skill set to have as a younger person. And it's just not something I was able to quite get to.
It's interesting. I say that, but and this moment has happened because my career, my success has come from more of a corporate world. So I can go down in Millennium Park and my parents listening to music and they have some friends there and they're like, what do you do? And I was like, I work up there. Like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I'm in here. I'm like, God, we got so much to do. Like the potential, like to just pause for 1 second and say, hey, pinch yourself, Nick. Like it's pretty
crazy.
What you've
accomplished.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you're so driven to create something that you feel is bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? That it's hard to take that moment. And that's why I do think it's a silver lining that you. Unfortunate that you have to deal with a health issue, but it allowed you to see what you're actually in. Whereas it's hard in a corporate world to pause and see where I'm at. Do you feel like, are you going through some of these same things as you're working your way up a new corporate channel?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and I feel like it's so funny because I was frustrated about a year ago and I had a really great manager and he was like, you know what? You need to do a way better job. He's like, you are above the trees right now. Like, let's get back into the trees. He's like, you have to email me every single day a small win that happened. And he went through like the entire week. He's like, that's a win. That's a win. I was like, that's not a win. He's like, how is that not a win? I'm like, well, it's not, X, Y, and Z, like big goals, like promotion or, new account or something. And I was like, I know. And he was like, this is your biggest strength, but also like going to be the thing that, challenges you the most, no matter what, no matter where you are in your career. You could be, like you're saying, you could be a CEO and you're still going to be battling that. And it's just something that I would guess that all driven, successful people are constantly having to battle within themselves of, okay, never being good enough, but also being like, okay, look what I just accomplished.
Yeah,
That's
right.
awesome. So it's like it's a constant like tug of war between the two.
Yeah, and that's where maybe the fall is tougher for say you win a medal at the Olympics. That it, it's tougher because it almost closes a chapter, whereas the chapter in a corporate life could be retirement. I mean, you like
Yeah.
the length of time that you have until you get to a point where all right, the book's closed could be a lot larger. Now, some people when they're switching jobs are closing chapters, but it's a little bit different in sports because the amount of time that you have in this life to
Yeah.
commit to it is actually minimal.
Yeah. The window is small.
Yeah. So, talk about the TED Talk because I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've talked about how offline how we got to the point of having it.
Yeah.
Talk about the experience. Talk about the message that you wanted to deliver, and then how you felt after you delivered it.
Yeah, so basically, my topic was being relentless, and it's something that I feel so strongly is really the reason that successful people are who they are. Because no one has this like straight line, perfect little climb to the top, as much as we all wish that. There's so many rock bottoms, there's so many failures, and it's stuff that I feel like people that are working their way up or people that have, maybe not made it yet look at those people and say like, oh, they're so lucky, or
Right.
oh, they don't have those things that happen to them. And my message has always been very honest and very transparent. I will never walk into a talk and just talk about like when I broke this record or this, but no, like people can read that and people can research like, oh, congrats. But to me, the most important and the most impactful thing is the failures and look what happened. And here's how I peeled myself off the ground and got back up. And so my message to people was, it doesn't really matter like where you're from, your DNA, like as long as you have what you're doing is a need versus a want, meaning that it has to consume you. You have to be obsessed in the most positive way. It has to be just as important as eating or breathing or living sometimes. You will be able to get yourself back up because the relentless spirit will come through. It's almost like you don't even have a choice. Like for me, sometimes like when I was 15, I made the Olympic team and I was expected to, win medals and I didn't. And the media just attacked me at 15 years old. And at that point, now looking back, I'm like, I don't even get how I wasn't like, forget this. Like, I'm out of here. But for some reason, a week later, I was like, okay, let's get in the pool. Let's figure it out. And I don't like that spirit just kind of pushes you forward. And no matter what in my life, it's always kind of pushed me forward. And so I'm such a strong believer that everyone can develop that, but you can't have what you're doing just be like, oh, okay, like this is cool. Like it has to be like, consume you. And that was really my message. And I just kind of took people through some of my failures and ups and downs, and there were some positives for sure, but and then just really how I kind of worked my way back up.
And you talk about remembering the close. How do you end that?
Yeah, so I really talked about kind of my next chapter. So closed the chapter on swimming and went into the corporate world. And what I really realized was, my need has always been constant, whether swimming or now. I always thought, okay, well, it's to be the best in the world. No, my need is to be extraordinary, no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And anytime I've been super upset or frustrated as I kind of made this transition into the corporate world from being an athlete, was I can't be ordinary. Like if I'm ordinary, I am bawling, I'm crying if I feel like I'm ordinary. And so my need is constantly chasing feeling like I'm extraordinary and what I'm doing is kind of setting me apart. And it's a little harder to find because it's differently defined in the corporate world versus, swimming. It's like you won, broke the world record. That's, but I'm slowly defining what that means in my own, career. And I'm starting to feel extraordinary again. And that's exciting, but it took me, 2-3 years.
Is it so vital to have people around you to help you get to that feeling? Like you talk about a manager who says, Katie, let's look back at the small wins every day.
Yeah.
How important is it to have the right people around you when you're chasing extraordinary?
Oh my God. I mean, it is vital. I think it's the most important because of the fact that if you don't have people who understand you and understand what you're going through, you can feel very minimized. So if people don't understand my background of going from trying to be the best in the world to starting over, it's hard, I think, for them to relate to you on that level. So I've been very fortunate to have, managers, my husband who played in the NFL, so he gets it.
Right.
You need people who get it, because then they can speak to you and support you on that level and not make you feel like, you're crazy or you're being impatient, or, you need that sense of acknowledgement so you don't, feel like what they're saying is just like,
Right.
okay, calm down, be patient. It's like, no, this is important and this is how I'm feeling. And I need to feel like you understand me and understand where I'm coming
Right.
from.
So you close out this TED speech.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there was standing ovation, right? Naturally.
So the coolest part that I did not expect was actually, yes, like the ending was great, but halfway through it, I talked about '04 when I swam the 400 IM and I didn't, medal. And then my journey to conquer that event, and conquering that event in my mind was breaking a world record.
Mm-hmm.
And so I broke world record in 2007. I played a clip of that video, and I did not expect this. Everyone got up and like cheered and clapped, and I was like,
awesome.
oh my God. So that was really cool. And then, everyone was clapping, and I got great feedback after the speech, which I was really, really pleased and proud, because I had been very, very raw in the speech.
Yeah.
It was the first time I had publicly said that for a couple of years I hated my medals. It was the first time that I had talked about just the struggle of starting over.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things that writing the speech, I asked my husband, I was like, I feel like this is like negative or like too raw or too honest. And he was like, no, that's what people want to hear.
Right.
You have to you cannot go up there and be your authentic self if you don't say this. And I'm like, all right. That's just half the reason why I was so nervous. So to have it received in such a great way, and people say, that they were like emotional and stuff like that, was really touching and humbling.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we were talking to John Vincent, the guy that sings the national anthem at Cubs games,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, look, a few years ago I came out and said I tried committing suicide. And
Wow.
he goes, that was big for me to say, because I was letting go of an internal feeling that I was ashamed of. And he goes, it was interesting because the outpour of people saying like, thank you for saying that. I battle depression, or I have this.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like when you're given a position of power or presence, which you have in a speech, or you have when you're talking to the media, or you have when you're talking to a group, that you're given permission to other people that don't have it. And that's part of what they get excited about, is the vulnerability of humans. Like, at the end of the day, athlete or not, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
There's a 5-year-old inside all of us.
Yeah.
So the crowd happens. Is that the touch of the wall again? Like, you feel like you just won? So now you're craving it again.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I literally felt like I was back in the ready room again, and you have those feelings of like nerves and like, oh my God, I don't want to do it. And this like kind of that feeling, I remember sitting there and being like, this is weird. I have not, like, even had a call time like you do in the ready room. And then the feeling like coming off the stage and feeling like, I really put on, some of it's a performance, right?
Yeah.
Like, I really put on a great performance. I delivered my message how I wanted to. I practiced for this. I worked my butt off for this. I'm like, I want to do it again. I want to share, now I've kind of like ripped off the Band-Aid and been able to really feel kind of that rush again,
right.
In a completely different way, and way that I never thought that I would experience. So.
Okay, and if I'm listening correctly, I would imagine, okay, there's a touch of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Praise comes next.
Yeah.
And then you probably become critical of that praise and think about how could I do it better?
100%.
Okay.
Well, because I'm like also like when people say, I'm like, are you just saying that? Like, what are you?
Right.
Are you actually think it's good?
You're skeptical.
Skeptical for sure. And because I came off and I of course was like, okay, well, did I say this? Did I say this? And I'm dying to see the playback. Of course, I'm gonna be like. This and this and this,
right.
But I want to see the playback so I can get better. I mean, I know it wasn't perfect by any means. It was my first really big speech like that. So there was even a lady there actually who she works for Microsoft, and she's just like this badass, and she does it all the time. And she's like, yeah, my first TEDx, she's like, I watched it back like a couple of years ago, and I was like, what was I doing? And I was like, great, that makes me feel good. Right. But it's a process, and it's
But you seem proud of it, right?
I'm definitely proud of it.
So from a life standpoint, and I'm evaluating sitting right next to you, but it's like almost realizing that you're not calling it a gold medal performance.
No.
So, but you're proud of a silver. Like in this moment,
Yeah,
you're
right,
okay
'cause
with
it's
it.
not
You're like,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where I think life lessons start growing you as a human, because now you just did something that tons of humans want to fight for and eventually get to. A lot of people are probably stage fright, but a lot of people would love to have that moment. And maybe in the previous one, you would have said, silver medal, I got to get better. Here, at least you're able to pause and say, I'm proud of what I accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's super fair. And it's right. I think it's redefining what success is in your mind and what being extraordinary is in your mind. And it's not being like, I don't really need to be in this situation like the best of the best of the best. I mean, I definitely want to. But I think for my first one, it's refreshing to just feel like, okay, cool. I just dipped my toe into this kind of realm and this arena,
Right.
and I'm really proud to get there.
What equals happiness for you now or in your life?
Yeah, that's an intense question. I would say the kind of like the triple threat, like having, a loving support system. So my husband and I have been together going on 7 years, and we're still just as in love as the day we met. So
Perfect.
that's amazing. Kids are, a few years away, but that will be added. And then, feeling like great personally. So being fit and feeling healthy and, feeling good about myself. And then the third is more of like the work balance or work life of feeling extraordinary and successful in that kind of realm of my life.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, when I was walking to work this morning, I was walking to the train. I was like, I wonder how I would answer it. And I was like,
yeah, how would you answer it?
Like financially, there's some saying that once you get over $50,000 in income on an annual basis, no extra dollar is going to buy you more happiness. It might buy you more vacations, it might buy you fancy cars, but from a happiness meter, that doesn't affect. So if you rip out the financial side, I was like, man, I come home from work, I can do a workout, which helps me feel better internally, whether that's dealing with stress or just the body, period. I get to see my kids. I get to see my wife when I get home. Like all the bullshit client stuff that could happen during the day doesn't matter at that point. Like I look at a family that I have and that support system, and then just purely that I'm motivated by my career. So it's a similar thing. So I think those that are driven for success end up having similar happiness.
Yeah.
And happiness is such like meditation and something deeper inside your soul that is bigger than whatever we're dealing with out in the real world.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's so easier said than done. Like it's so easy to lose sight
Absolutely.
of those, little things. And that's something I'm continuously working on where, I'll have something happen in the day and I just like obsess about it. And my husband's like, we are home now, let it go.
Yin and yang. You need
oh
that.
yeah. I am like the
that.
obsessive, like high strung, like boom, boom, boom. And he's like, okay, I'm calm, laid back. Like he's still really successful, but sometimes I'm like, you need to get a little bit more. You need to amp it up a little more. And he's like, you need to bring it down a little. I'm like, okay, happy medium. So.
It must be fascinating for you guys to even have the conversation because he was an athlete.
Yeah.
Is currently an athlete still. Athletes probably never leave who you are as a person, but he went through the same stuff. But it's interesting to see how probably your parallels, the different universes behaved in order to get up to an elite level.
For sure. I mean, and his was very much like he was a, walk-on at Michigan State. Like, mine was like, boop. And then I was like, all right, well, I got to stay here now. And his was very much like this slow climb. And, he steadily moved up. But, I mean, he still went through this very similar, I wouldn't say depression, but kind of that transition feeling. His was almost over like a period of like multiple years. It just kind of came out and manifested itself in a different way. So it was interesting how to see two people who, were at the top of their sports handle it in like such different ways.
Well, and I think to conclude, I think there's a valuable lesson that there are probably people that are going through this like panic of maybe not having enough patience or not feeling like they're good enough in what they're doing and can stop and absorb what's happening, that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's the thing that you lose. You're drowning in all these feelings and like ultimately, like it's gonna be okay. You're living, you're breathing. You've got a support system. life's a roller coaster. So you just gotta keep making it through. I hate
Keep
roller
making it
coasters, by
through.
the way.
I think
It's a terrible analogy,
yeah, right.
but the ups and the downs.
Katie, I appreciate this conversation. I think it's valuable. Anybody that watches it, even if there's one person that watches it, there's value to get out of your story, and I look forward to seeing where it goes.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Great, thanks.